State offense?
Definitely a different challenge than anything we've had so far this season. They on just about every play, there's some sort of shifting, motioning, a lot of movement, a lot of distractions, and it changes week to week. They do a great job of using the personnel that they have. They line up running backs and wide receivers. Receivers line up at running back. Tight ends line up at wide receiver. Everybody lines up everywhere. So it's a game where you have to be very sound in your rules. Understand the structure of your defense, and at the same time, it still comes down to what it takes to play good defense. I always think that bowl games are one of the first things that bowl games are usually decided by conditioning and tackling, because there's no other sport where you play week in, week out, and then stop for a month and then resume in a one-off game. So it'll be important that our guys are in great condition, because they do things with tempo to try and wear you out. And then we got to do a great job of tackling, because you get into a rhythm of that during the course of the season, and you can't be a great defense without being a great tackling team.
I guess y'all got into a rhythm these last 4 months. What's it like when y'all were off 2 weeks and then y'all come back on Friday? What's that like as coaches with your players?
As coaches, we obviously hit the road recruiting, so it's sort of nonstop for us. For the players, they dive right into the final exams. I think in a way, mentally, it's good for everybody to get a break from each other, for sure physically. Obviously, I think the last half of this, I think for sure defensively, just sort of being, injuries and just kind of being banged up, seemed like it caught up with us a little bit there down the stretch. So the chance to get some guys feeling better about their bodies is a big plus. And I think just mentally also, just to refresh the guys, get away and then get back and get eager to finish the season on a positive note.
Is there kind of a chip on the guy's shoulders after those last 3 games and things you mentioned, the injuries kind of catching it down?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think it definitely puts a sort of a mark on what I felt like was a pretty good season defensively. But ultimately, they measure you after all 12. I think our guys are. I think this football team in general is very motivated for our seniors, certainly for Dak, and then for our fans to finish this year, which is, again, a very good year to finish the year on a positive note.
You spent more time, I think, at North Carolina State than any other coaching staff you've
That's
had.
right.
What memories and things do you have of being with Wolfpack?
I have a lot of great memories of being at NC State. My 2 youngest sons were born in Raleigh. We were there for 6 years, like you mentioned. We were there for the 4 years of Philip Rivers, very similar to the 2 of the years we had with Philip. I think there's a lot in common with Dak's junior and senior year. One of the best years in program history was Philip's junior year. We didn't quite have the same team around him his senior year. Still had a good season, which rings a little bit familiar to me right now with Dak. Very loyal, passionate fan base, which again is reminiscent of what we have here. A place that identifies well with the people of the state of Mississippi, of North Carolina. I think the same way we do here in the state of Mississippi. So still have some good friends there. I've got some actually former players that are on the staff there, which is always kind of neat to see. My last game at NC State was in the bowl game in Charlotte, 10 years ago, actually, ironically. Yeah. So it'd be neat to see some familiar faces.
Did North Carolina State kind of shape your mind defensively, being there for 6 years and just kind of learning everything?
Well, we took from Florida State to NC State what we wanted to do defensively. So we were trying to build a defense at NC State in the same manner that we had the defenses at Florida State. And when you talk about trying to time things up perfectly as a program, we had the year after Philip Rivers graduated, we had the #1 defense in the nation the following year. And we always said if we could have gotten, just something hard to get with recruiting, everything, get everybody timed up, where if we'd had that defense with Philip Rivers, we felt like we could have probably won all of our games with that team. But it's hard to kind of get that at times as you're trying to build a program. So I think on the defense side of the ball, I think there's no doubt that we were always trying to build ourselves from an attack-minded, aggressive defense, similar to what we had at Florida State.
Who were some of those guys? You said that there were players now, assistant or coaches. Do you know who they are?
Yeah, Clayton White coaches their safeties,
okay.
And he was a linebacker. He was a senior linebacker my first year at NC State. And then D'Antonio Burnett he's one of their assistant strength coaches, and he was my middle linebacker for a couple of years there. Both really good guys.
When you saw that it was North Carolina State, what was your first thought?
Yeah, it was just kind of, I hadn't played them since I left, and the first thing I thought about was just some of those guys that I knew there, and just the opportunity to, now it's going to be hard playing them in Charlotte. like I said, when we went there, when we played in that bowl game in Charlotte, it's going to be a very pro Wolfpack crowd. And like I said, their fans do a great job and make a lot of noise. So it's going to be it's going to be a challenge when you go to North Carolina to play NC State.